Hello, and welcome back to another episode of She Builds Tech Skills North America. My name is Pragya. I'm a customer solutions leader at AWS and a passionate core team member of the She Builds team. And joining me today is Kandyce. Kandyce, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Kandyce Bohannon, and I'm a solutions architect at AWS. Also a passionate and excited member of the She Builds team, and always happy to be with you on another episode.
Awesome. So, a big mission of our show, our program here is to inspire more female representation in tech and celebrate tech leaders at AWS as well as at our customers. So I'm super excited about the episode that we bring to our audience here today, which features Stella Camacho, who is the Senior Manager of Enterprise Platform Engineering at Cars.com. And she will be talking to us about her tech journey, about why she's passionate about more women in tech, as well as the big accomplishment of driving transformation at Cars.com through a method called the CCoE, which is a Cloud Center of Excellence for those of you that are going to learn about it later when she joins us on this session today. Kandyce, anything notable for you? We've obviously spoken to Stella earlier. What are you excited about for today's episode?
I think what's really cool, so first of all, Stella is super interesting, and I love her background and all of those sorts of things. But like on the tech side of things, I think it's really important to call out the importance of a CCoE in general. That platform engineering piece is really important. I used to be, sometimes I say I'm a recovering DevOps engineer. Like that was my job. We built the platform for AWS and helped the data scientists and product teams to develop more quickly. And so I'm really excited to learn more and see more from her about how they did it. Getting those questions from our audience, please post questions as you have them, because a CCoE is more of an art than a science. All of those platform sort of things are, but it's also so important when you're making this transition and really gaining those velocity increases within your team. So it's an important thing to note and know that not everybody does it kind of the same.
Agree. And I think it also highlights, for those that don't know or are new to the cloud technology, of what kinds of diverse roles are available. You don't have to be a developer if that's the role that you know, or if you're passionate, that's totally fine. But there's so many different roles that are available in the cloud technology. And today, hopefully, you'll find out a little bit more about that as Stella talks about her journey and this whole program around the CCoE, and it opens your eyes to like what kind of diverse roles are available should you be interested in cloud and tech as well. On the topic of CCoE, I cannot help but ask you to share, Kandyce, about a recent blog that you co-wrote around CCoE and its importance for our customers. So please, can you talk a little bit more about that? And I'll share a link here for our listeners.
Absolutely. So I worked on this blog with one of my work besties. I've got like 5 work besties, but this is one of them. His name is Jason Champ. And we were like a pair that worked together on an account in the Twin Cities. And like so many other companies, they were going through this cloud migration and transformation and all these sorts of things. And so they had questions about how do we do platform engineering? How do we manage our infrastructure so that our teams are really only putting out the infrastructure that we've already kind of blessed as safe and the right patterns that we want to adopt. So as we were kind of talking with them about that and talking with other SAs within AWS, we found that there are a few, best practices that we're picking up on. And coincidentally, there was a new bit of functionality that came out. I think it was like last summer or something like that. That's about how long ago we started this. It does take a while to get a blog out. But there's this thing called the AWS CodeStar connection with AWS Service Catalog. So in Service Catalog, that's essentially like your catalog of all of your infrastructure products that you have available for your teams to use. And what Jason and I found by talking to all these other SAs and our customers is that often you'll have a platform team that manages that service catalog. And then, so they're kind of the hub. And then you have spoke development teams that kind of pull in those pieces of infrastructure into their applications and deploy them that way. So that's kind of the hub and spoke model. You'll hear about that sometimes. But what was cool and what was added last summer was this CodeStar connection into GitHub. So now you can manage your service catalog, your infrastructure, using infrastructure as code like CDK, Terraform, or CloudFormation. You can manage that in your GitHub repo, and then you set up this CodeStar connection that whenever you push your new infrastructure code to the main branch, it's going to automatically push that over to Service Catalog and make it available to your Spoke accounts. So you can also see how we could implement a lot more of that shift left DevSecOps sort of stuff by integrating within your GitHub actions or your code pipeline actions, different checks for security. Make sure that we don't have credentials being saved or whatever you might want to do, linting, things like that along the way through that pipeline. So in that blog, we kind of walk you through how to set up the connection. We talk a little bit about best practices, hub and spoke, and implementing some of those DevSecOps type of patterns as you go through. So it was a lot of fun to get it done. We worked really closely with the service team. And then there's like a whole process to get a blog published. This is my second blog published in my 2.5 years here. It's a big accomplishment because it is so much work to do.
There's definitely a high bar. So for those that have read a blog, especially in an AWS Amazon blog, a lot goes in the background with the authors, with the bar raisers, with the content check. And so congratulations, Kandyce, for getting that published. Yeah, I cannot plus one what you said. I think that is one of the great things about on the cloud is that you continue to iterate. You build something, you launch new services that make it better, that integrate it better with the end-to-end life cycle, and also gives you a view of how much complexity it is in the back end when we see these products getting launched or features or apps getting launched, what it takes in the back end to scale them, to launch them securely and improve that user experience. So we cannot take any of those things for granted.
Right.
Awesome. With that, Kandyce, would you kick us off and let's cue Stella's video?
Absolutely. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of She Builds Tech Skills in North America. I'm Kandyce Bohannon, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Pragya. And today we have a really exciting, energetic guest, Stella Camacho from Cars.com. So we're really excited you could be with us today, Stella. As we kind of kick things off, we always like to get to know our guests. So can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Tell us about how you got interested in technology and why you're excited to be here today.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Stella Camacho. I've always loved taking things apart and trying to figure out how they work. I learned how to pick locks as a kid, but I did love math. I got a degree in accounting from the University of the Philippines, which is the only national university in the country. And after graduating and getting my CPA license, I worked as an accountant. But I also tried my hand in other, jobs. Like I was a dive master for a scuba diving store for about a year. And I also tried teaching at a private university. All of these roles were located in Manila. And then moved here to the Chicago suburbs. And I started my IT career for about, that was what, 20 some years ago? I can't count. I was a help desk engineer. Then I quickly moved into networking, Linux, and Windows Server administration. Then in 2010, I started working with cloud environments and never looked back. My role as a cloud engineer and architect, working for a financial startup, 2 cloud consulting companies, definitely allowed me to see the real world situations why migrating to the cloud is quite difficult. It's not trivial. And this made me even more determined to stay in the business of cloud computing. Eventually, I wanted to make a bigger impact, so I decided to accept a leadership role. That was about 5.5 years ago, and now I am a senior engineering manager at Cars.com.
Awesome.
That's incredible. I love your journey from piquing your interest with picking locks, following your interest in math, accounting, and cloud technology. I just love because it's a great message for our audience here to continue your passion, and it'll take you to a job that you never expected that you thoroughly enjoy. So thank you for sharing that. I'd love if you would share with us further What does cars.com do as an organization? And then also, what does a senior engineering management leader do as yourself over there?
So cars.com is a leading digital marketplace and solutions provider for the automotive industry that connects car shoppers with sellers. We are a public company. We have around 1,700 employees. Recently, cars.com made it to the list of 2024 best places to work, published by Built-In. And I can confirm that because I work with an amazing team, which makes it very possible for us to build or fix difficult challenges. This team is the Marketplace Cloud Engineering team, and I lead that. We build and maintain the infrastructure of the core services of the cars.com website. But also last year, I was tasked with building a cloud center of excellence for the organization.
Awesome. We hear a lot about CCoEs, the Cloud Center of Excellence here at AWS. It's one of, I feel like it's one of the groups that we tend to work with kind of a lot at least as an SA. What I've learned about them is that everyone's just a little bit different. And so I'd love to learn just a little bit more about what the CCoE at Cars does.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. I did actually lead the CCoE for my previous role. So here at Cars, it's definitely different from my last role. But CCoE at cars.com is actually version 3. We've tried 2 other times to establish this practice since 2021. I guess 3rd time's the charm. And but seriously, this just proves that you can't give up on a CCoE practice because this is a very critical part of properly building an AWS infrastructure. For Cars, we had to do this because 3 companies that we acquired in the last 5 years basically had all sorts of different technology stacks. So you basically have to figure out how to standardize, how to use best practices, how to leverage all the knowledge across the different teams. And it's interesting because looking back, the biggest benefit that we achieved was transparency into our architecture, everyone's architecture, spend, and security. And that actually was enough to empower the engineers. And all of a sudden, everyone jumped in and said, "Hey, let's fix things the right way." That was pretty cool.
Awesome. Very cool.
Thank you for sharing that. It does take a couple of iterations because it is such a complex problem to solve, and you have to bring stakeholders along, processes along. So thank you for sharing that. V3 was where you got it right. So yeah, keep trying because the benefits, as you said, the standardization and scaling of a CCoE is incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, I think that you put together a little document, a slide deck that we can kind of walk through and dive a little bit deeper into that. So let me bring that up here for you, Stella, so you can explain a little bit more.
Thank you. This deck is actually part of the roadshow that we set up when we were trying to get everybody on the same page. So we started with a small team of engineers, myself and 2 engineers, and I came up with the roadmap. This roadmap was approved by leadership, and we went on a roadshow to share the plan with all the different cloud teams. By the way, a critical part of this is sponsorship from a top leader, like in our case, the CTO, because otherwise nobody will prioritize it, right? During the roadshow, we definitely explained to the different teams our objectives. And we were very transparent about the part that we wanted to start small. We want to target like the easy parts, and we were going to iterate from there. We gave them basically our operational goals, how we were going to operate as a CCoE team, which was, a bunch of things that normal teams do, but we were very, very clear that we will not be blockers, or we will function as an additional set of resources versus basically giving the teams more work to do, right? Because that's not what you want to do. And then we gave them obviously the opportunity to give us feedback. We were very accommodating of everybody's questions, hesitations. In fact, we did this in a phased method so that we would have a lot of learnings and not have to worry about things, breaking just because we were trying to implement things that were not in alignment with other teams.
So I think that's a really important piece of it that I hope people will kind of take home is that connection back to your application teams. You're not a blocker. You want to work with them, You're going to pilot some things and kind of fail fast if needed, but you're in it together, taking the feedback and continuing to move on. I would imagine that mindset is what helped your CCoE to be really successful. If I had to guess, that seems like the winning prescription.
Yeah, and the good thing is we didn't have to come up with this, right? I mean, to be honest, AWS has this all sorted out. They figured it out with, I don't know, maybe thousands of other enterprises. In fact, I think this slide is very similar to like another slide that was shared with us by our AWS team.
That's helpful to hear. I'd love to know more about that, because I think you sharing your experience on how the AWS team was able to help you will help others as well. One of the things that we see when our customers are looking at building CCoE, an aspect of that is to really measure if the cloud technology is helping them achieve their business outcomes. And that's something that the CCoE gets tasked with, putting all of that together so that the end readout to the leadership says, yes, we are making progress. How did you look at that?
Yeah, so part of this whole journey included us monitoring our progress as well. We used the tools that were already there. AWS obviously has Cost Explorer. We adopted Kudos. I'm not sure if you all have learned about Kudos, but it's a very interesting tool, a very very powerful tool that allowed us to come up with ways to find more clarity into the spend that we have for each of the services. The other thing that we did was not just from a cost perspective, but also from a security perspective, we were able to basically use monitoring and all the tools that came with Security Hub and Guard Duty to help us figure out if we were actually making some progress with mitigating all the findings.
Almost like a little burn down chart where you can actually see the progress. That's definitely helpful, I think, to keep that motivation going.
Yes, for sure.
Anything else I wanted to pick your brain on? You mentioned some of the artifacts that the AWS team brought to you that kind of inspired how you wanted to think about a CCoE. Any other things that stand out, and that's a good takeaway for others listening on the AWS side as well, that was helpful in helping build your CCoE, as well as the security and cost optimization?
Yes, I think if I show here, we basically decided to follow again best practices, right? We did it in phases. So phase one obviously was something where the AWS team was very helpful with. We literally did deep dives on reserved instances, savings plans, pros and cons. I mean, I thought I knew how to like manage reserved instances, but yeah, after that deep dive I was like, wow, there's like a lot of more things to learn. That's why the AWS team came to our rescue, because they have the expertise, and that helped us a lot. So phase one was pretty much following the best practices, and that allowed us to quickly share wins, share challenges. We built a weekly meeting for so all the teams could actually join, and we could even share knowledge via demos. So that was super easy to do. Unfortunately, when you hit phase two, then it becomes a little bit more complex, because now you're trying to do deeper dives into the AWS services to optimize cost. That's where the training and upskilling has to be more of a priority. We also are trying to automate layered security, and so all of these are more complex, bigger projects. But now that at least the trust has been built across the teams, I feel like the projects will have a better chance of succeeding.
No, I love the trust aspect. It is the hardest one to tackle, is bring the teams along, and this is something that we all need to do. I also really love what you have here, to look beyond the reserved instances and cost optimization, but also to like things like Graviton and the adoption of container services, which really is the next step of looking at it, not just from a cost perspective, but really building that muscle towards long-term modernization.
Definitely. These are our results, which was pretty awesome. Like, I think we started the CCO team and we announced it in February. And then from 9 months, March to December 2023, we basically were able to determine that we saved approximately 22%. We were also able to complete the deployment of Security Hub and Guard Duty via infrastructure as code. We use Terraform here at cars.com. And we were able to establish a process to monitor and mitigate findings. We still have to automate maybe more than half of that, but we're working on that as part of phase 2. But the more important thing is that because we were able to improve infrastructure as code, we were able to use this template and build new services for 3 other teams like very quickly. You know, they were able to get from nothing to hello world in 2 weeks with all the core services already sorted out, and they just basically had to put in their Docker image to make it run, and then they had the application running. It was pretty awesome. But also, there's still lots of work to do. For 2024, we renamed our CCoE team to Cars Cloud Committee because it is now a permanent part of the enterprise.
That is awesome. As a former platform DevOps type person, that story about like 0 to working app through your infrastructure as code and all that in 2 weeks, that is so impressive. Like that is such a great story, such a great win that you can claim helping with from your CCoE, now CCC, I guess you're called.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love all the stuff that you're doing at cars.com. This is so cool. The CCoE is a very important part of it all. But I know that you're also pretty active outside of your job with things that are helping to build out the pipeline of women in technology. Can you talk a little bit about your maybe favorite organization and some of the things that you do?
Yeah, sure. I've always volunteered. I think when I was a kid, I started volunteering in a school right next to my school. There was like a feeding program. I think it just ran in my family. So as far as what I do outside, I focus nowadays on WCIS, which is Women in Cybersecurity. And that's where we strive to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. I'm the treasurer of the Chicago affiliate, and I work with a wonderful team of women on our board. WCIS has about 5,800 members globally, including 170 student chapters. We create opportunities for all of our members and non-members, so we actually partner with several organizations. We have grants, awards, scholarships, internships, mentorships. I've always been passionate about social justice, which I think was pretty normal growing up in a country under a dictator. So I do incorporate all of that in my volunteer roles. And in fact, when I was still in school, I participated in the EDSA revolution, which drove the dictator Ferdinand Marcos out of the country. And in the last couple of decades, my volunteer roles included helping street children in Manila, unhoused folks in Chicago, victims of domestic violence in the southwest suburbs, and more recently helping a youth coding program for underserved communities.
I love that. I love it all. You're so active. That's so admirable. I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think we're going to post a link of all of the upcoming events with our audience here so they can learn more about the program and also find ways to volunteer. I think that is a cause close to a lot of our hearts, enabling more women in tech and especially in the field of cybersecurity. Thank you for sharing that, Stella.
Definitely.
Yeah, a thing that we always ask our amazing leaders that come to our show is, one piece of advice that you would leave for our folks that are joining us today. They could be early in their career, or they could be looking to switch to a new career, make a change. So what advice would you offer them?
I think it's not to give up and be okay with failure. So I guess that's 2 things. Because it's not easy, right? I think the last few years, especially with COVID, if there's anything that we've learned from that, is that a lot of things are hard, and it doesn't mean that we just give up, right? I mean, even with CCoE, at Cars, we basically kept on trying, and then we finally got to that. In my case, I kept on looking for things that made me happy and made me feel fulfilled, and that's how I got to this. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but for now, this is where I'm at. Is pretty fulfilling.
I love it. I thank you so much for sharing that. I love the message of always have that the young voice in your soul that tells you to find your next calling, follow your passion, and don't give up. Thank you so much, Stella. Really appreciate you joining us and giving us the time and sharing your amazing story. Thank you, Kandyce, for co-hosting with me. And for everybody else that's listening, thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you at our next episode of AWS She Builds North America to hear from another influential and amazing leader. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, and you both are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye. That was amazing. And I am so, so happy that Stella, you are joining us back. You are fearless, you are inspirational, you are a tech rock star, and we loved replaying your story here with our audience. Thank you for joining us.
Hey everyone, yeah, it's good. I mean, I love doing this kind of stuff because I feel like if I had this like growing up, then I wouldn't have to basically figure a lot of things out myself. Yeah, I deep in my heart, I know that any learnings are meant to be shared. So that's how I feel about stuff.
Thank you for we started our session today talking about role models for women in tech and young girls in tech, and you are so that. And earlier we also talked about the Cloud Center of Excellence that you drove, now known as CARS Cloud Committee, and how that also opens up folks to learn about different roles in cloud, that there's such a large diversity of different roles that are available for folks looking for a career in tech. But we just talked about the amazing results that you and your team achieved through the CARS Cloud Committee in the 9 months around security, builder experience. Tell us, as you've looked at 2024, we've all been in the thick of planning in Q1. What are key priorities for 2024 for you and your team?
Yeah, 2024 is going to be, I think it's going to be more exciting than 2023. Also because I think we've figured things out. We're now like ready to take on like really more difficult projects. Like we want to ramp up on our disaster recovery solution, BCDR, and really automate a lot of our processes. You know, being a DevOps type of organization or team, some of our processes are not fully automated, and we want to like basically be proactive and automate as many things as we can, so that we're true to the message of what our team is supposed to be. We're supposed to build tool sets for the team so that when they need to do stuff, fix things, build things, it's very straightforward. And all they have to do is use one of the tools. And yeah, that's really where we're at right now, and I'm super excited about that.
Cool. So as I've said, I used to be a DevOps person too. I am a DevOps person in my heart. I'm a DevOps person and an SA. I used to work with this guy, and he would say, we're not going to not automate. Like if there's a way to automate. So that was one of those things, a little phrase that I always liked. We're not going to not automate. So
yeah. And automating, I mean, people say that, yeah, let's automate, but it's really not that easy, right? So as a former, I guess, architect, right, one of the things I used to do was over-architect things. And sometimes I would literally like over-architect myself out of like starting a project. I'm pretty sure it's a common thing. So now, as I've gotten, wiser and with all the experience I've had, it's actually better to just make progress and iterate. So I'm okay with building something that's not fully automated at the beginning, partial automation, do what you can, and then keep on improving on that, and hopefully get as much of it automated as possible.
And I feel like that's a bit of the customer obsession. And what I really liked about what you said about how you've approached your CCoE, and that your customer, I believe, are your development teams.
Yes.
You're not getting in their way. You're giving them something that's decent enough to get started, because giving them something that's decent is better than giving them something that's perfect in like 20 years, maybe. So just getting that, in fact, someone else is agreeing with that, +1 to iterating. Like yeah, let's just iterate and get something out there. And so I think that you were probably successful with your CCoE because of your customer obsession and the way you worked with those development teams.
Yeah, at Cars, we are I think a 20 plus year old company. So a lot of our teams are also like, they've worked, eh, they have work processes that basically have worked for them for a long time. So sometimes to ask them to change the way that they work can be challenging. And that's why iteration is very important, and also being very mindful and listening to their challenges and working with them on that is I think is the key thing. It's because technology happens, it's the people that really count, right? Technology is always there. It's like that's always something you can predict, you can work on, but with people, um, that's a little bit more challenging.
Agreed. Tech is easy, people are hard. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Comes back to
Exactly.
the relationships and how earning trust, as we talked about earlier as well, be above and beyond technology. I have to ask you, women, March is Women's History Month, and we did just celebrate International Women's Day. I think I saw a little LinkedIn post that you posted celebrating that day with the women in cybersecurity in Chicago. Can you share a little bit more about that, and also what you're looking forward there in 2024?
Yeah, sure. We basically had several things going on actually on that week. We had a virtual call on International Women's Day, and we basically had all these rock stars, women rock stars in our panel who talked about basically their journeys and how they got to where they were at and what mattered, how they actually got to where they were at, and it was very inspiring. I think the day before that, we partner with we also partner with cloud security, uh, with a cloud security organization here in Chicago, and they basically partnered with Google, and we joined. Google hosted an event that had to do with cloud security and basically artificial intelligence. So that was super exciting. And obviously the food is always good whenever you go to join these networking events. The food and the networking is great. We met a lot of students, and that I think is the most inspirational part of what we do at Women in Cybersecurity is meeting with these students and other folks that are trying to get into the field, and just helping them, being supportive of their journey as well, and sharing how we could help and support them.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that part of your interview and just your volunteering mindset and like wanting to bring others along. I think you said when you first came on is that you really want to help others see themselves in this field. If something like this existed, you wouldn't have had to make your own path or something to that effect. And that is why we're here. Like, I think it's so important that we see all of these different roles and these different personalities that are in technology and making a real big impact, such as yourself. The lock picking still one of my favorite things. I will never be a dive master, but I might learn to pick locks. That seems a little bit, and it's problem solving. So like from a very early age, you're solving like intricate little problems, and so I really appreciate those things that you've said.
Yeah, this weekend, by the way, if you all are available, I think on March 24, one of my favorite cybersecurity rock stars, Leslie Carhart, has a conference named after them called Pancakes Con. So if you just look for pancakescon.com, I think, wait, it's .com or just Google Pancakes Con. It's a full day event, and the talks are pretty fun. I don't remember which pancake, I think there's a third one. And basically, their speakers are like all these amazing people, and their talk has to be half tech and half hobbies.
That's funny.
So it's I think it's always fun. I used to volunteer for like to review the basically people's resumes. There's that. There is a lockpicking village, Kandyce, in case you want to join.
There.
And so, but that is it's all virtual, so it's
Cool.
pretty easy to join if you have time on Sunday.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I think that's so great. And were you saying pancakes con? Is that what you said?
Con conference, yeah. So
Pancakes
Misty,
con. No wonder I
right?
wasn't getting the right thing. I wanted to
Yeah,
grab it real quick. I got it. Okay,
yeah. Pancakescon.com, right?
here
That
we
sounds
go.
like super fun. I thought for a minute you were going to say you're going to share, your story in cybersecurity, but then you're going to share like your favorite pancake recipe or something. I was like, oh,
Yeah, no, that's what the talks are all about, and it's just super fun.
yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's the right link.
Okay.
So yeah, so for folks who are interested in um just generally speaking, like a conference, it's not super intimidating because it's also fun. It's a great community, and that's why I like this conference very much.
That's fun. Cool. So we're kind of getting close to the end of our time together. But we can have you back some other time if you'd like, Stella. Or we'll catch you at Pancake Con.
Sure.
But do you have any other like final parting thoughts for our audience here? Something that you wish you knew to keep in mind? I love the be okay with failure, because we all fail all the time. You just got to learn from it, right? But what is your parting words for our audience today?
Um, I like learning like constantly. So I think it just keeps the days more interesting. Like when you wake up in the morning, what am I gonna do today? Learning new things. I don't know, like even for example, like learning vertical gardening. That's something that I plan to tackle this spring. Hopefully I'm not too late. It's like just little stuff like that. It doesn't have to be technical, but learning new things definitely keeps us busy, keeps us fulfilled, and makes life a little bit less painful, I guess.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I've been taking an art class, and so that's been my new
There you
outlet.
go.
Still into gardening as well. So like, yes, let's have some hobbies.
Nice. Yeah.
Great.
We are learning. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Stella. Really enjoyed our talk a second time around, and we never be done. We have so much to talk about, and we can keep asking you about more things, but
Yeah.
we are out of time, and thank you so much for joining us again.
Yep.
Yes, and thank you for your time as well. Keep doing what you're doing because it's pretty amazing. So, and thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for being here. One last little thing. You should check out all of you people online, you should check out our YouTube channel, like and subscribe and all of that cool kid lingo. Check us out there. And also definitely follow Stella on LinkedIn, as well as WeSys. We posted some of those links as we went through. So those are our final calls to action for any of you watching. And just wanted to, thank Pragya and Stella and anyone who's watching us today. Just thank you for your time. Hopefully everyone got a little something out of this. So
thank you, Kandyce.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All
Stella.
right.
Thanks
Take care. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.